We're recovering Season 9, Episode 15, 246 Gray. And yeah, that about summarizes that one. This episode starts off with a Scholastic Buckball League because Celestia loves sports, which tracks completely because not only of who Celestia is as a character, but also the very recent Vacation episode, which we just covered. Quick praise for Fluttershy and her expressions as she's hyperventilating. I love the idea of sports spreading to schools from professional, because that's actually exactly what happened in real life. Pretty quickly, too, in real life, which tracks because it's been pretty quick in universe as well. Then the animation team gets to show off for a minute, while they show off a random shot between the three main team. And everything's cool and everything's perfect, and Rainbow, I can't wait for you to be a participant in this. You get to coach the cheer squad. Deflate. Some of you may or may not know that I actually used to be an assistant to a cheerleading coach. This is back in high school. I've said this story several times. I was actually friends with several of the cheerleaders, and they were legit, cool people. It's a lot of work. It's extremely demanding, being a cheerleader, and arguably underappreciated, which is funny. I wrote that before I saw the episode, to be clear, but it's true. Yeah, cheerleading's hard. It is a lot of hard work, a lot of coordination, a lot of practice. I actually would argue that several of our cheerleaders literally worked harder than the actual sports people? I can't think of the term all of a sudden. Team members? Whatever. You get the point. Yeah, a lot of timing, too. Athlete. There we go. That's the word I was going for. Athlete. God. And yeah, I actually did help with a few of those things because I'm really strong. So sometimes I would actually be the person just kind of holding them up in the air like this while they do their thing, you know, as they practice. Because eventually they would have to do that on stands. And the stands aren't built yet. Blah, 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 blah. But you get the overall point, right? Like, I have a fairly decent amount of personal experience with regards to cheerleading. And I was in the middle of typing up some notes about that in my notes here. And this is when this, you know, the credits finished rolling, and then, oh, I thought you wanted me to do something important. Oh, this is important. Oh, you're being serious. And the moment I saw it, I was like, oh, God, that's where the episode's going, isn't it? So I actually adjusted my notes in mid-note to change it to mention how all of that hard work and concentration and practice and all that fun stuff, Rainbow should know that. So I paused the episode for a bit and went and looked up a few things. There's actually 4 other episodes I'm going to mention. We'll mention 3 of them right now. Sonic Rainbow. She was really... There was actually a big B-plot of that episode around Rainbow being terrified and wanting a cheer team to help her overcome that. And encouraging Fluttershy on how to cheer. It's very adorable. Yay. But that was a whole subplot, right? Second point. The games that ponies play. This is when she actually works with the rest of her friends, is a little loud, in order to organize a cheer for when they're going to the Crystal Empire. This also leads me, of course, to parental guidance, which had its issues. I actually didn't like that episode, but it's also worth noting that in that episode, she herself not only understood the power of cheering, both good and bad, but embraced it wholly as she cheered for Scootaloo towards the end of the episode. I'm just showing my work. Don't mind me. So Snips is being financial. This second time. There's a weird subplot. Just all of a sudden Snips has a head for economics. That's just weird. Oh yeah, by the way, let's up the counter-continuity counter. We haven't upped the counter-continuity counter in quite some time, but I think this is a good time to do that. This episode was written by... Hang on, I have a lot of stuff up. Just keeping track of a lot of things for the... Music comparison. There it is. This episode was written by dramatic pause Keita Mpambara, who wrote 2 previous episodes, Horseplay and A Rock Hoof and a Heart Place. Both episodes which were not great, but still better than average. Anyways, so they did a simple dance, the 2 ponies, Shimmy Shake and Light Hoof. That's okay. It seems pretty pathetic, you know, the episode tries to make it sound pathetic. All I can do while looking at that is mention, God, that's actually really hard to do. No, seriously, I want you to think for a moment about the relatively simple dance they do. They do a bit of a dance, one of them rolls over the back of the other, and then they do another complicated dance and do it in time while coordinating with each other, while actually balancing off of each other. So if one of them screws up, the other will screw up too. It's simple, but that's actually pretty decent work, especially for having just kind of come up with it on their own. Anyways, so this is when I had to pause the episode for the second time. You know how I often say, this is when the episode loses me? It's rare I say that at the 6-minute mark. So hold up. First thing we do is we have some weirdly good storytelling in just rapid fire. What do we see? Really quick succession. So first of all, we have the Snips economics thing, getting a little bit of characterization for him. Cool. That's cool. We get Yona, who is very enthusiastic and just through sheer enthusiasm and wanting to support her friends is here. Cool. This also styles me as a thing that Yaks would probably be into in general, cheering. Remember, we've actually already seen that the Yaks don't care how good you play the harpsichord, or not the harpsichord, the bagpipes. I forget what they call them. Because what they care about is how much you care about it, how much emotion and things we put in it. And they cheered the hell out of Pinky despite doing a terrible job with it. Vivitophone, that was it. I'm going to call it the bagpipes. The bagpipes, which is just, I'm just pointing that because we know that the Yaks have a very, very strong pack mentality, family, support family kind of a thing going on. So obviously Yona's into this. Okay, so okay, that makes sense. Then we have Ocellus, who just gives one line of dialogue, which gives her more characterization than Rainbow has in the entire episode. And that one line of dialogue is, I want to make an impression on everyone for something other than my shape-shifting. And I'm just staring at that like you could do an entire episode on that one topic right there. How many of you, probably not all of you admittedly, but how many of you know what it's like to be really known for one thing? Maybe in school, maybe at work, maybe in real life, maybe in your streaming show. Did you know I actually got a negative comment this morning getting angry at me for not doing more movie ruminations because that's the one thing that I do apparently. I'm completely ignoring all the other stuff I do. Yeah, apparently now it's all I do is Then, hang on. We keep going with this. Then we're up to 4, I think, character points at this point. Smolder is clearly into all of this. She's doing that thing. I forget what it's called, Sundari or whatever, or the other one, Yandere. But either way, she's clearly doing the thing where she's like, "Oh no, I totally don't want to be a cheerleader, but I definitely want to be a cheerleader" thing. And she's doing it she's not even doing it in an excessive way. She's doing it in a way that's perfectly in character for her. And she even does it in a way that praises both Rainbow and her friends. She says, I'm here with them, because this is important to them. But, I figured you could make it cool or something, which is praise for Rainbow. And then Rainbow says, don't count on it. Okay, let's break this down for a second. First of all, this is rude as hell. And very unprofessional. And the total opposite of what was expected of the moment. And extremely out of character for Rainbow. But let's break this down even further. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to picture this. You can remember something from your real life history, or maybe just imagine something fantastical or whatever. I want you to imagine that you are getting to do something for the first time that interests you. You're not sure if you're going to like it. You're not sure if it's going to be a thing for you. You're not sure if you're going to suck at it. But it's the first time you're trying that new thing. And you're nervous, right? You're worried. You're a little excited, you know, you're nervous. There's a bit of terror there in the back of the thing. There's concern how you're going to do, and there's a little bit of nervousness, right, as you're going through this. And then the person you personally know, someone who is a friend or a comrade or someone who is a party, like not just some distant, you know, stranger, but someone who you actually are familiar with, who you trust, who is an expert in this topic, well, at least more than most people, who also is someone who is going to be teaching you in this thing that you want to do, says, and not only just brushes you off like this, but is completely rude in the attempt. Please put yourself into those shoes for a moment. Rainbow does a lot of rude things in this episode, but I would actually say that this right here is actually the worst thing she does in the entire episode. This is the exact opposite of what any authority figure should do. Elder sibling, parental figure, or actual authority figure like a teacher. This is a black mark. Shunk. This is when I would pull Rainbow aside and be like, look. And we would have some words. And I would lay out everything I just laid out to you, to her. Because I think she would understand that. I'd like to think she would understand that. So, then, Snips tries to recover from this. Says, oh yeah, no, you're totally good. And Rainbow immediately gives up, tells them they're not as good as the actual team, completely ignores their efforts, goes and quite literally watches the game through the window, rather than paying any attention to them. When finally they finish their attempt, and her attention is called, she insists that she knows nothing about cheering. I should mention the 4th episode now. It's the episode in which she actually helped to teach the Cutie Mark Crusaders how to cheer for the Equestrian Games, which was a sub-arc in season 3 or 4, I forget which. I think it was 4. And I should also mention that she understood the value of cheering in that very episode and was actually really proud of the CMC for what they managed. This is not just Rule 0 violation. This is straight up character assassination. And you know I'm not a big fan of character assassination. Then Snips is, you know, trying to get everything because he wants to make money, and, you know, that's something. We cut a little bit forward to Snails doing some weird trainee thing. I don't even know what to say about that. And so Rainbow's like, aha! Got it! I'll have Snails do his weird trainee thing to you! This is called, I can't remember the term. Fostering? Shrugging off responsibility. You deal with this. There we go. Okay. It's handled. Someone else is handling it. Phew. Okay. And then they all put on the blindfold, and as they're doing it, Yona notices that Rainbow is leaving. If you're paying attention, this is now the 2nd time Rainbow has tried to just straight up abandon the group, and someone has stopped her. The first time it was Snips, and this time it is now Yona. Then, she comes back and insists that the group has been nagging her, strike 1, forever, strike 2, which Smolder calls her on, and then dumps all the stuff on them that she got from her friends, which, okay, that's yeah, I'll get back to in a minute, and tries to leave for the 3rd time now. And when stopped, this time by Smolder, she acts like she is the aggrieved party. Strike 3. Then we cut to the other team, who are training, doing a better job of training their team. And Rainbow is cheering for them. Huh. Then she pulls a, you know, oh, yeah, Pinky's like, I can't wait to see the cheering team. And Rainbow's like, oh, you're serious. That's the 2nd time she's pulled that same gag. And we get treated to our 3rd montage of bad cheering in this episode. This is at the moment I've turned to Rainbow and said, all right, and tried to pull her mask off. That's not a joke. Anybody who's watched most high sci-fi or high fantasy works before knows that there's such a thing as an imposter. Changelings and illusions and holograms and just straight up masks, right? Like, you know what I'm talking about. And this is the moment I would have actually been like, all right, and just went to pull off the mask or try to draw some blood or something. Point in fact, we've actually seen what changelings back in the dark days, when they were still under Chrysalis, acted like when they were impersonating Rainbow. It was astonishingly similar to this. And for just a second, I was actually thinking that that's where the episode was going. It's like, aha, so this is from Chrysalis, and Chrysalis is impersonating. And I actually thought, I was like, oh my god, that makes so much sense. And I realized in this moment that that would be a really great way to line this up. Like, oh my god, wait a minute. This isn't Rainbow at all. It's Chrysalis who is doing her part, because, you know, background thing, right? And oh my god, and this is this thing, and yada yada. So instead, what happens... Let's make a list here. She ignores the attempt by her team. She has no idea why they're upset by it. She confirms that their attempts were not good. She insists they will never be good because the very concept of what they're trying to do sucks at a baseline. Insults it, and I wrote this line down, nobody cares about cheerleading. That's where everyone gets up and gets a snack during it. That's six Rule 0 violations. And I counted, this is in the space of 15 seconds. That's counting the fade to black and the fade in from the commercial break. Smolder, naturally, beats her over the head with this. Metaphorically. I almost wish she'd done it literally. And just over and over. And she just hammers it in. Just over and over. You idiot. And she just smashes it in point by point until finally she admits she was actually excited about this because she thought Rainbow would make this 20% cooler. Nice callback. And then she goes right for the jugular. You're the most enthusiastic pony in Equestria when it's something you care about. I just wished we were one of those things. Now, what happens next is bad writing. Now, MLP has done this before, and I've complained about it every time. Star Trek has done this before. It's that thing where you establish a character as being very X or very Y. It doesn't matter what it is. But they're very much that attitude or that mentality, or maybe they're really evil or good or whatever, right? You get the idea. So in this case, it's Rainbow being a dick, right? You establish it and you establish it and you establish it. No variance, no gradients, no subtlety, no nuance. They're a dick. Oh, pling! And someone flips a switch, and all of a sudden, they completely change their mentality. I hate this crap, and it is frankly bad writing. In the interest of fairness, there are exceptions. There are circumstances where flipping a switch and changing your mentality can work. It's really hard to pull off. Really hard to pull that off. And frankly, if you're going to do that properly, what usually happens is it's not that their mentality changes, it's that their worldview has just been destroyed and they're just kind of in shock. The Firefly movie, I'm not going to spoil it, but the Firefly movie is a good example of someone whose entire worldview is just absolutely destroyed. And he just kind of goes as a result of that. That's how you do that kind of a switch properly. The overwhelming majority of the time, instead, it's just done because you want to emphasize A, because you're going for A, and then, oh no, I was so wrong, lesson, and now I am B. Or Z, actually, more accurately. And it's dumb. It's bad writing. So we've got character assassination. We've got aggravating, just aggravating construction of the events previous. And then we've got how irritating and frustrating Rainbow is being. And then we've got bad writing to flip it all around on the flip of a friggin' coin. You notice in the rest of the episode, she is actively like, oh my god, no, I don't even care about the game, I just care about them. What? So, then we get to the actual Buckball game. I'm going to pause here to talk about something that's going to be seemingly unrelated to the episode. Just the butterfly wings, right? Of course you did, because they call it out like 10 seconds later. But I mentioned that because this is a fascinating and engaging topic. Now, we don't really have a human equivalent of this. But Buckball, and I've praised Buckball for this, Buckball is a fascinating and uniquely perfect fit for something like Equestria. Because we have a sport, competitive, cooperative, way to compete without being violent towards each other. You know I'm in favor of sports in general, as long as we do it within reason, right? So it's a good way to have healthy competition, and it necessitates all of the types of ponies. You have to have an Earth pony, a Pegasi, and a Unicorn. And that's brilliant. It's brilliant because whoever invented it deserves a freaking medal because it's a brilliant piece of work. And they've done some good stuff with it. Celestia has only unicorns at her school. And we run into, well, or rather the episode doesn't even address, but my mind immediately runs into the huge topic that is. Inclusion is inclusion, but if you think about it for just a moment, it's interesting that they kind of throw that out the window completely in order to allow just unicorns to participate. I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm not here to cast judgment. It's an interesting topic, is what I'm trying to say. Is that something that should happen? Should we adjust the rules to allow other than the 3 to do it, even though that's kind of at the core of the very nature of what it means and why? Does that actually matter? Is that core element taken away by virtue of adding 3 ponies of a certain type? Would this even work with 3 other types of ponies? We could add the wings to an Earth pony, but can we add magic to an Earth pony, for example? So, could you do this with just 3 Earth ponies, for example? Is that even possible? Because you can do it with 3 unicorns, because they have the magic dampeners, they call that out flat and we see it, and they've got the artificial wings, which are temporary, but that's okay, you just need it for 1 match. But can you do this with 3 Pegasi as well? Because Pegasi and Earth ponies can't cast magic, they don't have horns. And you see the kind of topic that this engenders, because it means the unicorns are uniquely the only pony that can do all 3. And you could do a whole episode, 2 or 3, about what this means and how it means and whether it should be allowed and how far inclusion should go and how far it shouldn't go and blah, 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 right? And yeah, maybe there is a possibility of generating an artifact. We know you can put a lot of specific magic into artifacts. Maybe they could actually have a Pegasi who is, or not a Pegasi, sorry, a unicorn who's technically part of the team. And that unicorn is the unicorn who will, prior to the match, cast all of their enchantment into this amulet, which they give to the Pegasi or the Earth pony. And so for the sake of the match, they then have that telekinesis, right? And so forth and so on. Like, there's a lot. Yeah, this is a very nuanced, very complex issue that there could be so much storytelling with, which naturally means it's never going to come up again. It is interesting in its own right, because they obviously thought about the fact that it would all be unicorns at Celestia's School of Magic. It's the School of Magic. But even that actually brings up an interesting little side point. Should Pegasi or Earth ponies be allowed to attend a School of Magic? And I know what you're thinking. Why would they? It's a School of Magic. To study it. Have you ever studied something that you can't do just for fun or for knowledge? Or to be an expert on it? We've kind of seen this a little bit in, I can't remember his name, in the Crystal Empire, Starlight's friend. Now, he has a horn, but he's kind of crap at magic. But he's very learned at magic. Sunburst, thank you. And yeah, I was actually going to bring up Dagna, too. Thank you for getting there before I did. Because yeah, there's a dwarf, for those of you who don't know, in Dragon Age, dwarves cannot cast magic. There's a dwarven scholar of magic, or at least there can be, depending on how you do the quest, in Dragon Age. She comes up back in Inquisition, too, if you did that for her. Right? So that brings up another interesting question. Might it be best or worst for, non-magical ponies to attend the School of Magic? And none of this is touched. It's like 2 lines of dialogue and a couple of little visuals, and then it's just brushed by. Then they actually do the performance. I would, in a vacuum, the actual performance itself is pretty legit. The pony stomping in time to it, the rhythm of it, Ocellus getting everyone into it. You know, when I say friend, you say ship. That was actually pretty cool. As a good cheer is. This episode sucks. It is badly written, badly written, badly written, badly written, well written. Like, you notice how many elements of good writing there are in this episode? It's really frustrating. I cannot give this episode lamentation status. There's too much good in it. Like, there's the good performance, there's excellent animation, there's tiny little character tidbits for Ocellus, for Yona, for Smolder, for Snips, for Celestia, for the world building. But I cannot give an episode that has all of those qualities in it lamentation. It doesn't work that way. I would argue very strongly that green is the ceiling here. I'm curious of your thoughts. I could not imagine going above green here. I hope the next episode's better than this. I'm thinking blue. I think I see a consensus. Like I said, I cannot give this lamentation. It doesn't work that way. But I'm thinking blue. Hell of a range there. We've got an orange episode, and a blue. Yes, next we're covering, oh my gosh, A Trivial Pursuit. Let me double check. Did not hit cutoff early on accident this time. Here we go. Yep, here we go. A Trivial Pursuit. I see a picture of Twilight. By the way, Hasbro owns Trivial Pursuit, so I'm guessing that's a deliberate reference. This is by Brittany Joe Flores, who's only written one other episode in Season 7, A Purple, Once Upon a Zeppelin. I haven't been keeping track, admittedly. I need to sit down and spend time doing that. I just have not had any time lately to do, you know, for fun little side things. I haven't even gone through Season 2 through 9 with regards to the character things yet, which I do want to do. Never mind actually lining up the color variances. So at some point I will actually sit down and figure out how many colors are in which thing. I'll come up with some graphs and stuff like that. I always do like a post-series thing every time I finish a show, and this is going to be no exception. I just have had no time to work on that. So I've only got ideas right now. We actually did have a lamentation. Which one was going to seed? It's the only lamentation we've given the whole show. Uh-oh. That episode. Yep. That tracks. Yeah, Big Mac got hurt. Isn't that funny? He's doing the work of 5 ponies by himself. Isn't that funny? I like that idea. We could do that act. We could sit down and kind of try to color seasons. But anyways, I'll be back in about 30 minutes while we cover A Trivial Pursuit.